If you lift yourself, you probably know these common questions that fit people get asked all the time. How much do you bench? What's your arm size? And why don't you have a six-pack? You're not alone. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who by the way, says he benches about 400 pounds and has an arm size of around 20 inches, has similar experiences. But what about his six-pack anyway? Yes, The Rock really doesn't have a six-pack, just like many people. But why is that? Stay tuned and you will find out. First of all, The Rock has never had a six-pack. Not during his time as a college football player, not during his time as a WWE wrestler, and also not nowadays as a world-famous Hollywood actor. It was the same with his father, Rocky Johnson, also a former WWE wrestler, and by the way, the first black WWE champion together with his tag team partner, Tony Atlas. But what does that tell us? Quite simply, that the reason The Rock doesn't have a six-pack has something to do with his genetics. We just can't influence how our abs look, and not everyone can have a six-pack. Some have a 12-pack, some have an 8-pack, and some just have a 1-pack. Still, if your body fat percentage is low enough, your abs will show. That's true for all people. They just look a little different on everyone. Getting back to The Rock. The Rock has relatively little body fat, but still too much, so you can't clearly see his abs. If The Rock were as shredded as Zac Efron in Baywatch, you'd also be able to see his abs better. And currently, that's just not the case. Although he's achieved a really great shape again for one of his latest movies, Black Adam, but he is still far from being as defined as, for example, a professional bodybuilder during competition season. And that also bothers The Rock himself to some extent. Among other things, he mentioned this in an interview in which he compared his abdominal muscles with those of Zac Efron, who, by the way, is considerably slimmer than The Rock, but has a visible six-pack. And yes, even famous and rich Hollywood actors like Dwayne Johnson are only human in the end and compare themselves with other people on social media. Even The Rock has one or two insecurities and areas of his body that he's also not happy with. Especially when you consider that the man is now 50 years old. You can surely understand that all too well. That's the next point, by the way. The older you get, the worse your abs look too. That's just the way it is. Or have you ever seen an 80-year-old grandpa with a six-pack? Exactly. Rather unlikely. What's more, The Rock has injured his abdominal muscles at one point during his WWE career, which also contributes to the fact that they don't necessarily match the ideal image. And there is one more thing, steroids and growth hormones, because The Rock Johnson certainly takes them, and probably has for over 30 years. This also contributes to the fact that his abs are not as visible as they could be. Professional bodybuilders who take even more performance-enhancing substances than The Rock are the best examples of this. Steroids and growth hormones simply change the abdominal muscles over time, usually not for the better. Finally, let's be honest. The Rock has an extremely impressive physique, and every athlete ultimately has areas of their body that they like more than others. The absolute majority of men worldwide would certainly wish to look even slightly like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and that's regardless of how defined his abs are. That's it for today. If you liked our video, share it with your friends.